This video is something I want to do for a while since I've seen a couple of animes doing this thing, and I just want to talk about it because I don't think this is a good idea to do. And I've seen a anime that recently released and I watched do this correctly. Now, I'm not someone in the animation industry, and I'm just talking this as a fan of animation. So everything I say in this video is not something from a professional point of view or anything, but this is clearly from a point of a fan. So you have to understand that this is something that I felt. And after seeing an anime that has actually fixed this issue, if animators can do this going forward, I think it would be a really good idea. If you didn't understand what I'm talking about, since the dawn of time, since CGI or 3D has been incorporated into anime, it's a trend that I'm seeing where the 3D animation is at the frame rate of the 2D animation. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and you'd totally say, okay, that's because the 2D drawn animation is at a lower frame rate, so 3D should also be at the same frame rate because it blends in together nicely and makes it look better, right? Now, in a theoretical standpoint, I totally understand, and I think it might look like that. In practicality, I think that's not really the thing. Now, what I'm talking about here is a lot of animes like Chainsaw Man and Attack on Titan, especially animes about MAPPA, use CGI. And while CGI is completely fine, and I think it's something that makes the works of animators much easier and is totally something the industry should use, I know there are a lot of different opinions about using 3D in anime, but to me, I think it's completely fine. But the problem I had was the blending in thing, right? Whenever I see CGI or 3D in anime, it always looks off, and it's not because the models look really bad or something in the anime, like the way it's drawn or something, is bad, but when it's in motion, it kind of crumples down. And I always kind of had this really bad feeling whenever I see 3D in anime. And I totally understand a lot of people could say, oh, it's because models are lower quality or it looks weird. Whenever I see like a still image, it looks great, I think. Almost blends in super well. Like if you see a lot of still images of CGI from AOT or Chainsaw Man, you would not say that's CG. At least for some time, you would not notice, okay, this is 3D. But when it's in motion, at least for me, I'm talking from my personal experience, it's so easy to notice. So what is the problem? And I think the problem is, like I talked about, the frame rate. Now, if you don't know, anime are drawn in 12 FPS, 12 frames per second. That's industry standard, and that's what everyone follows. Now, the container could be different. It could be 30, 24 FPS. I think generally it is 24 FPS. But even if they render it at 60 FPS in the post, it's still going to be 12 FPS because it's 12 frames per second. And that's the industry standard, and that's what everyone follows. And that's totally fine for 2D animations. But when you get into 3D, it looks choppy, and the reason for that is 3D just doesn't flow well with low frame rates. And I think this is not something that you see in just anime. Like if you try playing a game in really low FPS, it looks choppy. Like even people today say 30 FPS is just not enough, we need 60 on everything, because 30 FPS to some people just feels choppy. Now, I'm not saying anime should be 60 FPS, but I will say it should be at least 30 FPS. And here's why. Now, recently I watched this show called Girls Band Cry. Really good show. I liked it a lot, but what I liked more about it is the animation. Now, Girls Band Cry, unlike most animes I've seen, has not rendered their 3D in 12 FPS, and this is a very 3D heavy show. Now, there are other 3D heavy shows like 3D heavy, or I would say almost 100% 3D shows like Trigun Stampede. Now, I think Trigun also does 12 FPS. I'm not exactly sure about their frame rates, but I'm just assuming it is 12 FPS because that's the industry standard. And I always kind of felt a bit off while watching Trigun. It's a great show, but the animation felt really kind of blocky and choppy. It looks out of place for me. Even in a 100% 3D show, it's a show that's made to be watched like the way it is. It's not that there is 2D elements in the background and 3D in the foreground. 12 FPS 3D does not look good. Now, the reason I think 12 FPS or whatever works in 2D is because like each frame is drawn to incorporate what they want to show. 12 FPS in 2D animation works because every single frame has its purpose, and I don't think 3D works that way. The stuff I'm saying might not make any kind of sense, and I totally understand that, but I'm just trying to say this in a way that could be understandable. I'm really sorry, but long story short, 2D animation in 12 FPS looks great because I think there's a purpose in these animations and these animators are hand drawing it in a way that it will look great. But when it comes to 3D, you're using a software that makes it point A to point B, and it almost feels like these frames are choppy and there is something to fill in the middle. And I think that's the biggest problem. Also, these 3D animations in anime isn't really winning any kind of awards, and I think that's another point where Girls Band Cry did a great job. The animations in Girls Band Cry looks great. I think they did a fantastic job, and almost every animation in Girls Band Cry looks so purpose-built, and because of the high frame rate, it doesn't look out of place anywhere. Now, Girls Band Cry has a couple of these scenes where they go on stage and do these concerts and these sessions, which looks amazing on stage, and these animations are done so well. Like, some of these could pass off as Genshin Impact. Now, Genshin Impact, that's another thing I want to talk about. No, I'm not talking about playing the game itself, but the animations. Genshin Impact is very anime styled. Like, it looks pretty much like an anime game. I mean, it pretty much is a anime styled game, right? And it is in completely 3D, but you would not say, okay, Genshin looks really choppy, I cannot play this game because, oh, it looks really bad, because it does not. It is 3D, 60, 30 FPS, whatever it is, and it looks great. And that's why I think anime should incorporate at least 30 FPS while doing their 3D scenes in anime, and it will look great. Because if something like Genshin can pull it off while being a video game, definitely just a bump in frame rate could be the difference between making it choppy and more watchable. This is totally from a Stan fan point, and I do not really know a lot about animation. I love animation, but I don't have the time and energy to be like that one guy who learned animation to become a hater. I'm not a hater, absolutely love every single anime out there, I would say, but I just want to talk about a couple of stuff that I think as a fan felt could be improved in anime, and I felt an anime that did do it and did a great job. So I think the industry can also go forward and keep doing these practices to make animes better. Just before ending the video, I just want to say that if you're a fan of my videos and want to support me, I have started a Patreon. I have plans to bring some really cool content over there, and if you want to see them, links in the description below, and I'll see you there. Anyway guys, that's about it. Thanks for watching this video till the end. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you think my content was good, and I'll see you later.